and that today's NBA, there's no defense played. And I just need to say, that's not true at all.
What part?
If anything, defenses may be better today. It's just offense overpowers so much more because everyone's so much more skilled.
No, you lost me on this one, man. All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope y'all having a good day so far. So I had it suggested to me that I check out this video by a channel called 2-3, and this one is called Every NBA Myth Debunked in 21 Minutes. And it doesn't take that much to catch my interest, but this one definitely caught my interest. I have no idea what this is about, and I'm excited to find out with y'all. There are tons of myths out there that have clouded, from year to year to year. And if this guy actually did his homework and his research, I'm very excited to see what he's come up with. But anyways, I'm going to link the original video down below in the description like I always do. So if you want to check out this video without my commentary, go right ahead. And also if you want to check out 2-3's channel, it's right there for you in that link. All right, everybody? So let's do this. Leave this video a like if you don't mind. It helps out a ton. And yeah, let's check this out together, all right? I think we're in for a ride.
Here's every NBA myth debunked in 21 minutes.
Let's do it.
It's December 8th, 2011. You just got a Woj bomb. Chris Paul has been traded to the Lakers. 83 likes on a Woj bomb is crazy, by the way. But anyways, what? The best point guard in the league, the best shooting guard in the league, and now they're on the same team?
Yep.
How is that even possible? I mean, this has genuine potential to be the best backcourt we've ever seen. And the Lakers already won 2 of the 3 last championships. This duo is going to be insane. Except for the fact, the trade just got vetoed by the NBA, and Chris Paul is staying in New Orleans. The original 3-team trade, Pau Gasol to the Rockets, he's staying with the Lakers. The Rockets were supposed to get Lamar Odom, Goran Dragic, Kevin Martin, and Luis Scola. Now, all 4 of those guys are staying put too. It really doesn't make sense. Because personally, I never seen a trade get vetoed by the commissioner after being agreed on by both teams.
And it's weird because from what I understood was David Stern, the NBA had to sell the team, right? So keeping Chris Paul would keep that value high as opposed to trading him and then selling the team. But then they went ahead and traded him to the Clippers. So I just got to remember the timeline now. Did the new owner trade Chris Paul to the Clippers? Or to David Stern? Because I think it was Stern, man.
Let alone 3 teams. How does one guy just get to decide for 3 entire cities? He doesn't want to allow them to do a trade. And the thing is, even until he passed away a couple years ago, David Stern got a heavy backlash for this. After Durant signed with Golden State, but Commissioner Stern blocked the CP3 trade to the Lakers, though. Or, how David Stern vetoed the CP3 trade to the Lakers. Or even, the NBA didn't want Kobe to have more rings than their golden boy, MJ. And really, that's one of the biggest misconceptions in NBA history.
Yeah, I feel like at that point, it wasn't about MJ. It was more about LeBron. And they were setting up LeBron to succeed as opposed to Kobe. That's how I always saw it. It wasn't about protecting MJ at all.
A lot of people really do believe David Stern vetoed the trade because he didn't want the Lakers to be that stacked. Didn't want them to have Kobe and Chris Paul on the same team. But the truth is, well, it's not even close to that. The Hornets were in a weird situation. CP3 had been there for 7 years, but they haven't won anything. They knew it was time to make a change. And honestly, they were looking to start some sort of legacy in New Orleans, especially with the rebrand coming up in a few years. But the thing was, they had no owner at the time.
Yeah.
Which obviously made decision making impossible. How are you going to decide a major part of your future, like trading the best point guard in the NBA, without having an owner? It's like an airplane having no pilot.
Man, Chris Paul was so smooth at that time, by the way. If you didn't get to see him back in his first 5-6 years, man, it's something to definitely look up because he was so quick back then. So quick. That team was so fun to watch, too. I was always silently, like low-key rooting for him. They were fun to watch.
It doesn't work. But because they had no owner, other teams were pissed that this was allowed. Dan Gilbert from the Cavs straight up wrote a letter of protest. The dude was preying on the Lakers' downfall. And because they had no owner, what was happening in New Orleans was this. David Stern was acting as the owner until someone bought the team.
There it is.
And with all these other owners being pissed about the Hornets just made a trade with no real owner, Stern got a lot of backlash from the other owners. He felt like the GM wasn't the guy to make a decision this large and vetoed the trade. Check this out. Stern claimed it was for the best interest of the Hornets. He cited basketball reasons for not allowing the trade, believed the GM wasn't authorized to make such a deal. So yeah, no owner, no trade. That's all that really...
I don't know. I mean, a GM can't make a trade without an owner's approval at the end of the line, right? And David Stern was the acting owner. This is so complicated. It's so complicated. We'll never know what his real intentions were because he's gone now.
Really came down to. I guess in a way, the other owners were mad about this trade, and they're probably a little annoyed that CP3 and Kobe were going to team up, but really, they were annoyed because a team without an owner was making one of the biggest trades of all time. And acting as the owner of the team, Stern pulled from the trade, and that's really what it comes down to. But that's only one of the major myths in NBA history. How about this? LeBron James. Remember that time he signed with the Miami Heat?
Just end it right there. LeBron James, the myth.
Formed a super team with D Wade and Chris Bosh.
Yep.
You know, the team that's going to win 7 championships.
Not 7,
well,
8.
They didn't win 7, but they did win 2. And everyone knows, really, the LeBron Heat, they're one of the best NBA teams ever. No question. I don't really think it is a question. I mean, they were a super team, but they weren't the only super team. We had the Durant Warriors after them.
Wait, did he break that dunk?
They were a super team, but they weren't the only super team. We had the Durant Warriors after them, and then some failed super teams in the last few years. Kobe, Nash, Dwight Lakers, Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Pierce Garnett, Lopez Nets, then the Harden, Durant, Kyrie Nets, Kawhi, Paul George Clippers. There's always teams trying to build super teams, but the problem is, a lot of people, and I mean a lot, blame LeBron James for being the first person to start super teams. Medium.com. LeBron James created the first super team in NBA history.
Well, the thing is and hopefully maybe he'll tap in on this too, is this is the first time players created a super team. You can think back to what Boston pulled off, but that was an amazing organization as far as how they pulled this off. That wasn't KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen talking and saying, "Hey, yo, let's team up." It was the Boston Celtics communicating with all 3 of these guys individually and saying, "Hey, what if we can do this? What if we can do that? Would you come on board?" And they all agreed to terms, and it was created that way. But this was LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade all talking to each other and saying, "Hey, let's go play together. Where do you want to play? Let's see who will take us." It was a completely different thing.
A whole entire article, or even Shaq said it. I think a lot of people think it, but the problem is, NBA super teams have been going forever. Actually, 1968, the Lakers traded for Wilt Chamberlain to team up with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. Or 1975, the Lakers signed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then they get Jamal Wilkes to join them in free agency, then they get Magic Johnson in the draft with the pick they traded for. One of the highest regarded draft picks of all time coming into the NBA.
Yeah, but you draft somebody, you can't call that a super team. Like, that's not, I disagree with that 100%. You draft somebody, you don't know. Same way I say OKC was not a super team. They drafted all 3 of those stars. Just happens they drafted very, very well. But building a super team is getting somebody who's established to join your other established stars. No rookie is a star.
Or how about something as recent as 2010? The Celtics had Paul Pierce already, they make a trade for Kevin Garnett, and another trade for Ray Allen. 3 superstars all coming together. Super teams have been going on forever. Now I understand the argument, those teams were traded for, and LeBron signed with the Heat. Yes, yeah. But this is a time where the Celtics team was around, the Lakers had Kobe and Pau, they were elite, the Spurs had Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, the Thunder had Durant, Harden, Westbrook.
Yeah, but all these teams were built. They were built organically.
We had the D-Rose Bulls teams.
Drafted.
If this is the lineup you had for your first 8 years of your career, brought this team to the finals 4 years prior.
It's actually not that bad of a lineup, but one key factor could have helped. But Varejao was key. Ilgauskas was key. Delonte, no comment, and Mo Williams was a great factor too. It was a good team.
They've done nothing to help you win. What difference does it make if it's a guy in a suit in an office making a super team, or it's you in a uniform on the court forming a super team?
I think it makes a big difference because the player's job is to go out there and compete with the best. And what they did was bypass that by teaming up with the best intentionally, bypassing that struggle that they have to accomplish in order to win championships. Now, an organization, their job is to build the best possible team to contend for championships. That's literally their job. So I think it's very different when players are colluding together in order to build a super team versus an organization building a badass team around them like Boston did. I think it's extremely different.
I feel pretty confident when I say it wasn't just LeBron, Wade, and Bosh who did it. I'd like to imagine Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra had a lot of say in what happened too, and vice versa for the other teams. It wasn't just the Celtics GM. I'd imagine the three superstars in Boston had to talk about teaming up before. It doesn't just happen out of the blue. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
They've never once mentioned it. All these conversations, I've never heard any of them mention it. The communication was going between the Celtics and them individually, and they never actually talked to each other about it.
I think LeBron started
the players, I mean.
Super teams, although maybe he did form his own kind, but there's definitely been super teams every season. I don't know. What about this one though? This dude, Vince Carter. For some reason, I see it all the time. There's a huge misconception about Vince Carter that he can only dunk, which is far from the truth.
Oh yeah, no way.
Enough where he had to come out and say he didn't want to be remembered as just a dunker. Here's the thing about Vince Carter.
He ended up being a great perimeter player as well in his later years.
He's arguably the best dunker ever. There's no debate there.
Yeah.
But he's also one of the greatest players ever. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Good Lord.
Let me just read his accolades.
On the Kembe Mutombo. I'm sorry, I know that's not what he's talking about, but my God, just look at this. He rises to another level.
But he's also one of the greatest players ever. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Let me just read his accolades real quick. 8-time All-Star. He made 2 All-NBA teams, a second team once, and a third team another year. He was Rookie of the Year. He's 21st all-time in scoring. He's 77th in assists and 9th all-time in threes made.
All right, let me actually look at this. All-Star, All-NBA, yep. Second team, third team, Rookie of the Year, 21st all-time in scoring. Damn, that's awesome right there. 77th in assists, 9th in threes made. Wow. I mean, I knew he turned into a great perimeter shooter later on, but damn.
Clearly, especially the threes one, that doesn't just happen by being a dunker.
Nope.
Unless he's dunking his threes, then he's the GOAT. But yeah, you forget how good Carter was overall because he's just so good at dunking. But in Carter's third season, he averaged 28 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. That's a ridiculous stat line.
Yeah.
He shot 46% from the field this season and 41% from deep. So he was insanely efficient, and yeah, there's this whole narrative that he was just a dunker, which really doesn't make sense if you look at it.
It's funny, I never remembered him as just a dunker. Like even when he was young and he was making a highlight reel every single day, I watched him play. He had a complete game. He had a good post game. He had a good mid-range jumper, and he could shoot to 3. Defensively, you could see some improvement, but he also did. I mean, he put effort into the defensive end. So I never saw him this way. I never saw him as just a dunker. I do see him as possibly the greatest in-game dunker of all time, but that's just part of his thing. Just like MJ, I also see him as possibly the greatest in-game dunker of all time, as I do with Dominique, but they had a lot more to the game than just that.
I want to talk about another one, because I read Carter's stats, and numbers don't lie, but sometimes they don't tell the full story.
Agreed.
I was
Context.
thinking this while I was looking at one of the top current players in the league list. Is weird, because you have some guys who get phenomenal numbers, and of course they're great players. But how do you compare them to guys who make the winning plays that don't put up these numbers? And there's 3 guys who come to my mind specifically: Alex Caruso, Derek White, Josh Hart. Last year, Alex Caruso averaged 10, 4, and 4, but he's a guy that any championship team would kill to have. Josh Hart averaged 9 and 8, again, a player contenders would kill for. And Derek White, his stats are a little better, 15, 4, and 5, but I think because Derek White gets so overhated for being called underrated, it almost makes him underrated in a sense. You know what I mean? Let's look at Alex Caruso real quick though. What he does doesn't show up on an average box score. Caruso is the most impactful per minute defender in the NBA. Caruso ranks number 1 in most advanced defensive stats, including plus 4.1 defensive estimated plus minus. He forces 4.5 turnovers per 100 possessions, leading the NBA. He also excels in defensive rebounding, ranking in the 97th percentile. You know how much research that all took me to do? If you already knew that stuff, I don't know what to tell you. But if you're a casual, or even just a normal fan, not even a casual, you definitely don't know that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't.
And that's exactly why Caruso goes so underrated. The Thunder got
nice
a
pass.
gem in him. But what about Josh Hart? Last year, Josh Hart was the first player in 2 straight games without subbing out since 2013.
Damn.
He's also the first Knick to play consecutive 48-minute games in the postseason. There was a point where 6'4" Josh Hart was averaging 12.8 rebounds a game in the playoffs. That was 4th overall, behind Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, and Jared Allen. Through 9 playoff games, he had 13 or more rebounds in 7 of the games. He had 15 or more 4 times. He also had a 5-game stretch where he averaged 48.2 minutes per game. There's 48 minutes in a basketball game. He played 10 straight quarters.
That's like Will Chamberlain status.
So all that, along with his hustle, his ability to score when his team needs it, pass the ball too, Josh Hart is an elite basketball player. And then Derek White. Look at this one. I found this from last season. December alone, in this month, Derek White averaged 20.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 5.4 assists, with just 1.6 turnovers per game, and then 1.5 steals and 1.9 blocks. These were shooting percentages of 52%, 45 from deep, and 93 from the line on just 18% usage. 18%. It's easy to get overlooked when you have Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Holiday all on your team, but then he does get talked about and people hate him for it. So yeah, I'm not going to give names of other players, but it's just a weird thing to compare guys like Caruso, Hart, and White to them, because if you ask contenders who don't have these guys, say Dallas, Minnesota, or Philly, if you ask if they'd rather Josh Hart or player XYZ, I don't want to hate on any specific player, but sometimes these guys who put up empty numbers on low efficiency on bad teams, chances are they're going to take Josh Hart 10 out of 10 times. So yeah, numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the full story.
Yeah, these guys are, I mean, every championship team since the beginning of time that I've been aware of, every championship team needs badass role players. And these guys are badass role players. I'm thinking back to like Dennis Rodman, you know, what his stats are versus what he actually provides a team do not line up whatsoever outside of the rebounds. But you don't get to see all the other things that the stats don't show all the other things that Dennis Rodman did. I'll throw Scottie Pippen in there as well. The ultimate role player in my mind, because his stats are decent, but his presence on the floor was crucial to the Bulls' success. It really was. He needed to be there. He was, I don't want to call him like the quarterback, but like he was a captain in his own sense. He was the good cop while MJ was the bad cop. And he was great with the triangle offense. And he also him and Jordan both led the charge defensively. He was a very, very, very crucial part of that team. I'm looking at my Suns right now and wondering where the role players are. We have 3 stars and no role players. And what's happening here is there's no cohesion with the team. So I'd much rather get rid of a star or two, Beal, KD, I'm looking at you, and get some role players again, because we used to have them, and we were much better off when we did have some role players. So, yeah, they're just not stars. That's all it is. But you need guys like this to win rings.
Speaking of numbers, what about this one? 100. The amount of points Wilt scored in a game. A lot of people don't.
What a crime that this game was not recorded. And I know how long ago this was, so it wasn't. But man, we all know about the 100-point game, yet none of us have seen it, and it sucks. I would love to watch this
game happen because there's no footage. All right, you guys are gonna kill me. And if you watch my videos, you already know what I'm gonna say. I have a crazy full video coming out where I found the truth behind this game. I know I keep hyping it up, but it's coming out soon. Trust me. I already filmed it. I just need you to please subscribe if you want to see that video.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
Hold up. I'm already subscribed to you, sir. So no problem. I've heard testimonials of people who were there, and not one person says that it didn't happen. So I'm not on the mind of thinking that this didn't happen. I'm just a basketball fan, true and true, and I want to watch this
on this game before. So yeah, we'll get to the truth in that video. But let's stay with Will actually and Bill Russell, because there's a big myth they played plumbers.
Got Floyd the plumber that's on the wing right now, making a move and getting to the basket and finishing.
Now technically, that is the truth. Some of these guys work second jobs.
Yeah, they did.
I'm sure some of them were plumbers, but by no means were they bad at basketball.
No, and I got an argument for that. Like, imagine these guys are doing a full-time job and playing basketball, and they were still this damn good. JJ Redick, I'm looking at you. You got to play basketball full-time, and that's all you ever had to worry about was basketball. And look, you just ended up being JJ Redick. While these other dudes had to bust their ass to support their family, working multiple jobs, and look at these awesome guys. You know, you're no Kuzi, you're no Jerry West. So your comment was very disrespectful, and I hope all the legends continue to come at you for that one, because you garnered a lot of hate for that shit.
Think about it this way. Wilt and Russell versed each other in the 1969 NBA Finals. In 1969, there were 14 NBA teams. Besides Wilt and Russell, the starting bigs were these guys: Wes Unseld, Willis Reed, Jerry Lucas, Walt Bellamy, Nate Thurmond, Elvin Hayes, Bob Boozer. Add Wilt and Russell to that list, that's 9 legends out of 14 teams. 64% of the guys they had to play were either Hall of Famers or borderline Hall of Famers. It's weird to think in that perspective, there was a better chance they were playing a Hall of Famer than Jokic is nowadays. Now granted, the worst starting center in the NBA is averaging 50 and 50 in the 60s, but Wilt and Russell didn't have the training like they do, and the diet and the recovery plans we have today. They were using the same stuff the other guys were in the 60s. It's a time shift. They were just so much better than everyone else in their time. So yeah.
We have that in every era though. You know, just like everyone is forgetting about the 90s, except for Michael Jordan. People still bring up Michael Jordan, but no one's talking about anybody else except for here on this channel. And the 80s, we barely even talk about Dr. J anymore. We just talk about Magic and Bird. You know, 2000s, it's all Kobe and Duncan. And after that, it's like LeBron and Steph. So this happens every era. We could say at every era that, you know, oh, you guys are just playing scrubs. No, it's just because we have eyes on the stars of the stars. And back then it was Wilt and Russell, and after that we had Kareem leading into to Magic and Bird. But it doesn't mean everybody else sucked. It just means let's celebrate how great these individuals were for being that much better than all of their competition.
Even though they were literally and actually playing plumbers, they weren't really playing plumbers. These guys could still hoop. But I want to keep it in the big man realm. Let's talk about another one. Number 33
Patrick
from the New York Knicks, Patrick Ewing.
Hot take. I was just watching some clips of Philly, and I was watching Embiid, and I had this thought of, dude, I would take Patrick Ewing any day over Embiid, any day. And Pat had a good mid range. He was stronger than Embiid. He didn't get injured nearly as much as Embiid, which is why I saw it, by the way, because guess who's injured again? Embiid himself. Yeah, he didn't whine and cry. He wasn't a dirty player like Embiid. And Patrick Ewing never won an MVP. It's a crime. Patrick Ewing was a badass.
There's one of the biggest NBA conspiracy theories ever surrounding this dude.
Okay.
Is that the 1985 NBA draft was rigged. Now, was it? I'll let you decide.
Okay.
But I'll break it down for you.
Boom.
The NBA draft lottery was created in 1984 to prevent tanking. And in 1985, there was this guy coming into the NBA out of Georgetown, the unanimous number 1 overall pick. His name, Patrick Ewing. Ewing was known as the best prospect since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and plus, this was the big man era. But going back to the lottery, it was different. The teams didn't make the playoffs, 7 of them. They had envelopes placed into this big glass ball, mixed in turn, then picked out by David Stern. But a few years later, watching it back, some people started to notice something weird. One of the envelopes had a crease in it. Eventually, this was found to be the Knicks envelope. Also, It seemed like Stern had the creased envelope, then decided not to choose it. The theory goes that the envelope was creased, and it was easier for David Stern to know which one was the Knicks pick and know who to give the first pick to.
Okay.
There's also another theory that the envelope was frozen, so David Stern could tell the Knicks one was the cold
Frozen?
one. Stern said it wasn't true though, but check this out. This was before the draft lottery from the Hawks GM. I was sitting with a couple NBA guys, and I remember one high-ranking team executive, who I will not name, was 1,000,000% convinced of what was going to happen. He's going to the Knicks. It's all arranged. I didn't believe him.
Okay. I mean, but if you watch what's going on here, as this old dude's cranking this thing, crank that soldier, as he's cranking it, of course, these are all square, right? Big bulky envelopes that are squared. So them crashing down a couple of feet, would that not cause creases? Look at it.
So you had people in the NBA.
Dude, there's got to be a lot of creases. So making a crease in this envelope that wouldn't be a safe way. The frozen thing now, I mean, there's no way to prove that. But if that was the case, yeah, that's easy. You would just touch the envelope and be like, oh, that's the cold one. But yeah, the crease thing, I'm not buying that one. And I'm sorry here. I was sitting with a couple of NBA guys, and I remember one high-ranking team executive, who I will not name, was 1,000,000% convinced of what was going to happen. He's going to the Knicks, he kept saying. He's going to the Knicks. It's all arranged. I didn't believe him at the time. I'm not debunking this and saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't buy the crease thing. New York has always been a big market, so them getting a big prospect like him, like Patrick, does kind of make sense. Oh, it's an interesting one. Let's see what else he's got to say.
He's going to the Knicks. It's all arranged. I didn't believe him at the time. So you had people in the NBA already thinking he was going to the Knicks? Damn. Now, there's no 100% definitive proof that the lottery was rigged for the Knicks, but the envelopes definitely did have a crease that others didn't have. I'll let you decide for yourself. But I want to talk about a funny one. One that people genuinely do believe.
Yao.
This guy, Yao Ming. And don't hate me for including this in the video, but this is one that genuinely people do believe and has been a conspiracy for a long time. That Yao Ming was created by the Chinese government.
Man, I've had this conversation so many times. All right, I'm going to hold my thoughts until I'm going to let him do it.
I'm not kidding. There's countless articles on it. Let me break down for you what they think. So it said that Yao Ming was bred for basketball.
I'm sorry. Whether this is true or false, could you imagine being Yao Ming and all the rumors out there are that you were genetically created by the Chinese government because you're that much of a freak basketball player? Like, I would play into that. I would lean into that so much. I'd be like, yeah, I'm the $1 million man, baby.
Or against his will, which is almost sad if you think about it. It said that Yao's height and basketball career were outcomes of China's Soviet-style sports system. I'm gonna read this because I don't want to mess it up.
Do it.
It's heavy stuff. Chinese officials tracked Yao's family for generations to produce elite athletes. The system uses growth predicting methods, measuring bone and pubic hair to select future athletes. Eugenic-like practices encourage selective breeding to create stronger athletes.
Okay, the selective breeding thing and the tracking Yao's family generation, I do believe it. He's going to show us, I'm sure, who his mom and dad are, and I'll save my thoughts for that.
But if you were wondering why Yao's family, check this out.
Yeah.
Yao's grandfather was one of Shanghai's tallest men, but discovered too late for sports. Yao's father, a 205-centimeter tall man, or 6'9", was selected for the sports system. Yao's mother...
That's tall for Chinese, by the way. Like 6'9" is monstrous. And Yao's mom, yeah, this is really where it's at.
Chinese woman basketball captain was 182 centimeters tall, or 6 feet.
Like, that is crazy for a Chinese woman. You know, like if you even see like a Chinese woman like 5'5", 5'7", that's considered extremely tall. But we're talking 6 foot here, and they were both basketball players. So there's where I can kind of interject in this. My belief is we know enough about the Chinese government and how they operate. So, you know, I believe they identified these two healthy, you know, individuals, Yao's mom and Yao's dad, very tall, and very gifted in basketball, and they did put them together. That's really what I believe. I don't believe they were created in a laboratory. I believe they just, had sex and had a baby, and that baby was Yao. But genetically, naturally, this would lead to the most giant, basketball player that's ever come out of China.
So yeah, it makes sense why Yao's family was chosen, but this is where it gets sad. It said Yao hated basketball. Yao's parents resisted, but Yao was forced into the sports system at 8 years old. Yao hated basketball for a decade and was subject to intense, repetitive training.
I believe it.
Scientists provided Yao with mysterious concoctions, likely part of the experimental treatments in the 1990s.
Okay. Yao's parents resisted, but Yao was forced into the sports system. I would believe that. And he hated basketball for a decade. I don't know how to prove that. I would believe it though. It's believable. Scientists provided Yao with mysterious concoctions. It could explain the knees. I don't know. Maybe there was something about him there was something they were pumping into him to make him grow at a more exponential rate than normal, and that caused his knees to be so poor, his legs. I don't know, man. I wish Yao would just say it. That's what I wish. But he'd have to distance himself from the Chinese government to do it. And right now he's more of a liaison between us and them.
Yao with mysterious concoctions, likely part of the experimental treatments in the 1990s. There's also some people who speculate that growth hormones were used. There's no proof, but hormone treatments are suspected as part of China's doping scandals.
Possible.
Yao was fed substances designed to increase his height and physical endurance. That's just sad if it's true. But if you're wondering the question everyone's wondering, why? Check this out. China's success in sports is seen as a reflection of national pride and global power. The pursuit of gold medals has become an addiction for China as its means of showcasing its global dominance. Sure. Damn.
For sure.
This is one I really
every Olympics, I don't know if you guys notice, it's always us and China are like right there on top for gold medals.
It's just a conspiracy theory, because that would be terrible if it's true. I don't know what to say. Besides, I really hope it's not true. I do too. Yao was one of my favorite players ever, easily.
For sure.
You guys know how good I think Yao could have been if it wasn't for injuries. One of the best players ever. But on a lighter note, too, while I was researching for this video...
Okay, so just to cap it off with the Yao Ming thing, the only thing I wonder and I question about all of this, though, because we all love a good conspiracy, is, okay, we have Yao now. His career is over. He's a giant Chinese man, full blood. Why not pair him with a giant Chinese woman who plays basketball and make them have babies now? We might be looking at like an 8 foot tall kid, coming out and dominating basketball. I mean, I feel like the consistency is lacking because they have the golden opportunity right now with Yao, and I would expect them to have him create some babies for the future generations of Chinese basketball. But I don't see that happening. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think he is a father. Is he a father? Please correct me in the comments. I'm going to continue with the video, but I'm genuinely curious about this.
I found two that genuinely made me laugh out loud. Look at these. I didn't realize Seth Curry actually existed. I started watching the NBA in 2015, 2016-ish. On a very rare occasion that Steph Curry had a bad shooting night, I remember seeing people online joke about it was actually Seth out there as opposed to Steph.
Oh, man.
The thing is, though, I misinterpreted what they were saying. I thought they were saying that Seth was a doppelganger of Steph as opposed to a real person. Like maybe Steph wasn't feeling well or something, so he let Seth play to give him the night off. That's funny. My guy thought Seth Curry was Cliff Paul.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But then there was that Jeff Green is the best player in NBA history. That isn't even a myth. That's just a fact. All right, for real though, you guys know this guy, Phil Jackson.
Yes, sir.
2 championships as a player, 11 championships as a coach. Let's focus on the 11. 6 of these championships came with Michael Jordan, 5 of them came with Kobe. And because of that, constantly you hear Phil Jackson is a product of Michael and Kobe. But I can dispute this one in a second.
Do it, please.
First off, that would make every coach in the league a product of their best player, which clearly isn't true. There's good coaches and there's bad coaches, obviously.
This is awesome.
And secondly, just looking at the numbers, it's simple. Phil Jackson was the Bulls coach from 89 to 98, so 9 years. That means he won a championship in his 66% of his season's coaching. We won't count Michael Jordan's Wizards year for argument's sake. Jordan played for the Bulls for 13 seasons, meaning he won a championship in 46% of the season.
By the way, that stat alone is always awesome to me. I mean, it's crazy. You can talk about what kind of a start he had, because they had a rocky start in the early 80s. But once they got it figured out, man, 46% odds Michael Jordan wins you a championship from the second that you drafted him. Incredible. And real quick, I'll just chime in and say, Phil Jackson benefited from Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Pau Gasol. Okay, he benefited greatly from that. Now, all those same players greatly benefited from Phil Jackson being their coach. This isn't a who's right, who's wrong, who gets the credit, who doesn't. The credit gets just distributed, in my mind. They were a perfect pair, just like Popovich and Duncan. It's not who gets the credit. It's give them both the credit. They both deserve it because they needed each other.
Seasons. Phil Jackson was his coach in 8 of the seasons. He won a championship 75% of the time Phil Jackson was his coach. He won a championship 0% of the time he wasn't. And then looking at Kobe, Phil Jackson was the coach for the Lakers for 11 seasons, which means he won a championship 45% of the time there. Kobe played in the NBA for 20 seasons, which means he won a championship 25% of his seasons. With Phil Jackson, he won at a 45% rate. Without Phil Jackson, he won at a 0% rate.
Damn.
It's really simple when you look at it. Clearly, Kobe and MJ are two of the best ever either way, but they never got it done without Phil Jackson, or even close to it.
And Phil Jackson never got it done without them. So I'll just be fair about it all. Dan Marley, you're about to get schooled.
Clearly, Phil Jackson was doing something right, even if having MJ and Kobe on your squad helps a lot. But we just talked about Jordan and Kobe, and a lot of people think they played in this WWE era where defense was insane. You were playing 5 prime Draymond Greens a night, and that today's NBA, there is no defense played. And I just need to say, that's not true at all.
What part?
If anything, defense is maybe better today. It's just offense overpowers so much more because everyone's so much more skilled.
No, you lost me on this one, man. It's not. It's the rules. The rules prevent the NBA players in the current product from being able to play that kind of tough defense. It's not that they're not capable. If you change the rules right now, give them a year to adjust, I'm sure these guys, they're great athletes. They can figure out how to play defense. But the current rules do not allow them to play the 90s and early 2000s style of defense. It's literally in the rule book. They're not allowed to do it or else they get called for fouls constantly, you know? So I disagree with this take. You can say that they might be better shooters now from deep because they focus on it. I'm okay with that because that's the focus of today's game. But defense, it wasn't just about the individuals being dogs back then. It was that the rules allowed this type of play. So that's how you won championships back then, was by playing hungry dog-like defense. So yeah, I'm actually shocked about this take of yours right here.
I mean, think about it for a second. Who's the best offense in NBA history? You probably think the Showtime Lakers, the 73-9 Warriors, even the years after that with KD.
05
right?
Suns?
Well, not even close. Here's the top 9 best offensive teams ever. The 2024 Celtics, the 2024 Pacers, the 2024 Thunder.
Okay, but what you're not thinking about here is why. Why is it this way? And that's because the rules don't allow them to play defense the way they used to. If that was the case, there's no way this type of scoring could happen. It takes both. You know, you can't just show me numbers of inflated scoring without the context of why the scoring is so inflated, which is the defensive rules have shifted. You can see it literally happen once the rules shifted. The percentages started going up in total amounts scored per game, per team. So this isn't going to convince me of anything right here. And I'm not trying to diss. Great video. But this This is the context is lacking here.
2023 Kings, the 2024 Clippers, the 2024 Nuggets, the 2024 Bucks, the 2021 Nets, and the 2024 Knicks. Yeah, 7 of the top 9 are from last year. 9 of the top 9 are from the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's really bad.
14 of the top 25 are from last year, and 25 of the top 25 are from the last 3 years.
It's really bad. We literally just destroyed the history books in the last couple of years of basketball. It's a terrible, terrible crime.
Offense just gets so much better by the decade, and because of that, it makes it seem like defense gets worse, which isn't the case at all. It's probably the opposite, if anything. I mean, think about it like this. Roy Hibbert in 2014, he was an all-star, one of, if not the best defender in the NBA. In 2015, the Warriors come in and change everything where bigs have to be able to help. 2017, Roy Hibbert's out of the NBA. He's only 37 today in 2024, and in an instant, you had to be able to play defense like never before, and because he wasn't able to do that, he's out of the league.
It's not just that, though. It's because the game changed to where a guy like him is no longer in the paint playing defense. A guy like him is now stuck on the wing. Look at Chris Bosh. Look at Kevin Love. What happened to them when the game changed overnight? So it's not that they're not capable of playing basketball. It's that now you're not that valuable in the current system because we want our centers shooting threes. So centers got to play perimeter defense as opposed to playing in the paint defense.
You could also look at it like this. If you want to understand how bad offenses were compared to today, last season's Pistons had an offensive rating of 109.7. In the 1998 NBA Finals, the Jazz had a 96 offensive rating and scored 54 points in Game 3. In the 04 Finals, the Lakers, same thing, a 96 offensive rating. Also, in the 90s, you couldn't play zone defense. Today, there's so many more defensive techniques allowed. Today, modern bigs have to be able to defend in space, unlike past players. I mean, pick and roll offenses would have exposed past big men like crazy. Think about guys like Rudy Gobert or Bam Adebayo. They have to be able to handle these situations, and they do. Past defenses didn't punt switches. That'd be a major issue if they face modern offenses.
I don't get it, though. We've been doing pick and roll since the 80s, man. I mean, even before that, but, you know, I'm an 80s kid, so, you know, look at Stockton and Malone doing the pick and roll. They didn't win. So it's not like the pick and roll itself is going to do it. Look at the Nash-led 05 and on Phoenix Suns. Our number one play was the pick and roll. We do a pick and roll with Amari and Nash, and on the other side we can do a pick and roll with Sean Marion and Nash. Yeah, we scored a ton of points. We embarrassed a lot of defenses, but we didn't win because good defense still triumphed. Guess who beat us all the time in the playoffs? The San Antonio Spurs. Solid defensive team. And guess where Tim Duncan was in that era? Right there in the paint, playing defense and stopping that pick and roll. So, like I said, great video. I just so 100% to my core disagree with this take.
So clearly, athleticism has increased since the 80s and 90s. And overall, I just think that modern defenses are unappreciated and overshadowed by the improvement of offense. And that's probably the biggest myth today in the NBA. And really, there's so many overall. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Also, please subscribe if you want to see that Will video.
I do, actually. That sounds like a fun video, man. So, good, great video overall. I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Some cool takes here. And it really got me talking. This one, you know, it's interesting if it gets me talking, and this one got me talking in all sorts of manners. So, yeah, that last one I disagree with. The Yao one is a huge, we don't know, big question mark. I'm always going to be curious about. I don't think we're ever going to get the answers, but I'll always wonder it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. But yeah, I strongly desire the NBA to revert some of these rules to allow the defense to actually play some physical defense again. I saw some signs in the playoffs last year. They were heading a little bit in that direction, allowing more contact. That's a start. I would like to see them continue that momentum. and just allow defenders to actually make a little contact with the offensive player, put a little body up on them without blowing that whistle. For now, it's just not the case, and we're going to have to deal with this inflated scoring until then. And I guess to counter the argument would be, if offense really is at an all-time high as far as talent-wise, as you say it is, then why not change the rules to allow the defensive player some more freedom to stop it? If offense is really that good now, then that means it's time to increase the freedom of defensive players, is it not? So why are we hiding? Why are we hiding from it? Why we have the softest defensive rules of all time if we have the greatest offense of all time? I'm not buying it. I'm not believing it. I see it with my own eyes. I saw it in the 80s. I saw it in the 90s. I saw it in the 2000s, and I see it now. It's not the same. And I think if they allowed old school defense to re-enter the league right now, we'd go back to scoring 90-something points a game and low 100s. It would happen overnight. And with the kind of training that these individuals are doing, we'd see injuries skyrocket. And if you ask me, I think that's the real reason why the NBA doesn't want to see even more injuries than we already get. But anyways, guys, I'm out. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Link to the original video is down in the description. Great video, 2-3. Really intriguing stuff. Looking forward to more in the future. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And yeah, with everything I said in there, leave your comments down below. I'm very interested in reading what you all have to say. And maybe you all think I'm stupid and you disagree with it all. I want to hear about it, you know, because I'm always trying to learn. Anyways, I'm out of here. Peace out, everybody. Have a wonderful day.